Hi, it's Stephanie Phillips here, World Childless Week, and I'm joined with Lesley Pyne, who basically is the author for the amazing book, there we go, Finding Joy Beyond Childlessness. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today because it's Sunday and we're all on about moving forward and finding acceptance. So hello, Lesley.
Hello, thank you so much for talking to me today. Yeah, we're both here. We've both found our joy, I think, haven't we?
Yes.
That's your name as well,
you and your book, me and my name. Doesn't show on
exactly.
The screen. I should change it perhaps so it's on the screen there. So why did you, or how did you decide that you were going to actually write a book?
Oh, well, I've been collecting stories on my website for a little while, and I realised that I call them inspirational stories, women who'd come through, if you like, the childlessness doesn't come out the other side. And I realised there was some common things that many of them had done. So I decided to group them together, and they will form the different chapters to the book. So we've got chapters on things like grieving, letting go, self-acceptance, writing, and coming out the other side. What happens at the end? And I think I use my story. I've dug into those different subjects, and when we talk about how much has changed in the year, I think that's the work of writing has changed me. But I think also having those stories shows you, the reader, what you can have and who you can be at the end of it. It's not just me that's saying you can find your joy. It's 19 other women in there also saying the same thing. So I think it gives it a bit more. Well, stories are always helpful, aren't they? But, yeah,
I think it helps because obviously my big thing is you share your story and it empowers you, but it also helps people as well, because we often think we're alone, and when you suddenly have small little nuggets that overlap with somebody else, you think, okay, I'm not alone. They think the same as me. And like you say, comparing yourself to other people is often, when you're surrounded by parents, you can't do it. But when you're in a circle of people who are childless like you are, then you suddenly bridge that gap and find there is a real link there.
Yeah, I think that's also that, I believe there are many ways into this place we call childless, and there are many ways out. I'm not saying this is the way, or I'm not saying follow all the different chapters. Read it, and different things will resonate with you. I think that grief is something that you have to go through, whether you like it or not, unfortunately. But with the other things, some stories and some chapters will resonate with some people, some won't, and that's fine. But there is a way out. There is definitely a way out.
I think as well, what's good with what I've read from your book is that you can always pick and choose, as you say. So one chapter you might just think, oh yeah, no good to me. But in a month or even a year's time, you might go back to it and go, wow, now I understand it and it hits me. And I think it's like you say, picking out the little bits that work for now, but keep going back and reflecting, because people often say, when will I stop grieving? How will I find it? And it's like, you can't say a how or a when. And I can't even define for myself, but I think it's an example I gave is somebody said to me, I was in a situation and I suddenly realised afterward that I wasn't upset and I didn't run out of it. Whereas a year ago, I'd have run out and gone to the toilet and cried.
Exactly.
And I think it's more a case of reflecting shows you your acceptance rather than looking forward.
That's true. Yes, very much so. I think that when my mum died, the vicar said that he felt that grief was like putting on a big heavy rucksack when you're starting a walk. When you first put it on, it feels really heavy and you sort of buckle under the weight of it. But the more you carry it, the lighter it feels. And after a bit, you don't really notice it. And I think sometimes you notice it, sometimes you don't. But mostly it's just there. It's part of you. And you don't, as you say, it's only that reflecting back and how you've changed sometimes that gives you that, oh yeah, I didn't react to that and I used to. Yeah, very much.
Yeah, no, and like you say, I think it's also a case that your book shows that no matter how deep in grief you are or how full of concern that your life's never going to change, you can see that it can change, and for people who were in your situation.
Exactly.
Who also have the same fears of nothing moving forward or finding that acceptance. But we can guarantee it does.
Yes, I mean, it's that we can guarantee. There's work to be done, and only you can do it, which is the I was going to use a swear word there, but not. That's the tough bit, you know. Wouldn't it be lovely to just wave that magic wand, and say it's all better? But and for me also, I know we sort of strain from the subjects here, but what the hell? I resisted grieving for such a long time, and I've enjoyed it, actually, the grief process. I've really loved it. I mean, it's been hard, it's been challenging, but mostly I've had a lot of fun as well. You know, that's that. So it can be fun, doesn't have to be hard. I mean, it is hard, but it doesn't have to be all miserable, you know.
But it's a release. It is such a release. And when you know, if you're in a support group, people that can say to you, that thought's not weird. It's perfectly normal. Go away, scream about it, cry about it, write it down, do whatever it is you need to do to let it out and release it. Yeah.
Exactly.
And like you say, it's finding your own way to do that. Very much, you know, people can give you ideas, suggestions of what they've done, but just because that area doesn't work for you doesn't mean to say there isn't something else that will.
Exactly. Yes, very much so. Yeah, there is something out there. I think that's the key, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, then. So, what do you think is acceptance?
Well, I mean, acceptance. I think to me, it's that first step, isn't it? And it's hard, and I understand that. It's like, but before you can move on, you have to accept that you're never going to be a biological mother, and I know that's a really tough thing to. So I know Tracy Cleantis, who wrote the book The Next Happy, she calls it calling the time of death, which is, and again, that's quite. I realise I'm talking about really tough things here, but it's almost like you have to draw a line and say, I'm going to step over it. You know, that's the end of that. And I think that's also that we're realising that this dream or wish, whatever you like to call it, was taking up so much space in your head. If you turn that round, is by letting go of that, then you let in space for more things to happen, more dreams. You know, so I remember one time, and I was in a yoga class, and it was hurting a bit, and I was hanging on for dear life to the blanket for whatever reason. It was like, and all my body and my head and everything was like hanging on tight, and all that was in my head was just this: hang on. And my yoga teacher said, you know, what you're doing, let go, and I did, and then I felt myself relax, and you know, I went fully into the experience, and I let in, you know, some other things, some different feelings. So I think that acceptance is that it's letting go of that dream, and I know it's a big step, but it can be done. Yeah,
I think because, like you say, there's so many people go, keep going, keep trying. It will happen for you. You just need to do that or do that, and all the different things that we don't want people to say to us. But while you keep that little glimmer of hope there in your heart, but your head saying, no, you know the reality of the situation. It's sad, it's hard, but when you, like you say, for me, as soon as you accept it, you might not like it, and it doesn't mean that you're suddenly happy the next day, but it does mean you understand. Exactly. You've drawn that line in the sand, and you can step forward. Yeah, exactly. So I think what you said resonates with me completely. Yeah, really understand that. Okay, then. So obviously you've gone across that step, but how do you move forwards?
Well, I think one really good way is to is some sort of ceremony. You know, like lots of people when you get married and birth, death, all that sort of thing, have a ceremony. So it's having some sort of ceremony that says, right, that's the end of that. It might be writing all your dreams on a sheet of paper, setting fire to it, throwing it in the sea. It might be gathering the memorabilia. I think that's a big thing to do. If you if you had toys that you were going to give to your children, gathering those up and taking them to a charity shop or a hospice or somewhere, you know, wherever feels right. It might be making a memorial stone or something, or maybe doing something with your partner, but some sort of event, some sort of ceremony that resonates with you, that again is that marker of that's the end now. Then again, it's that stepping over it really helps to move forward.
Do you think there's anything people can do to almost plan in a way to sort of try and get somewhere, or I don't know, but do you know what I mean? Rather like that's the initial thing. What can they do if mentally forward thinking? Do you think there's anything they do or anything?
Well, I think, I mean, there's a good exercise I talk about, and also it's that, looking at people, like there's the I am me pictures, or reading the stories in the book. It's like seeing people who are far further ahead. So it's that belief as well that you can get to that life, that positive life. I mean, there's going to be Jodie later in the day today, her webinar, you know, watch that, or, you know, look at people like us who have come through to believe that you can have that fulfilling life, you can find your joy. So that is, if you can dream it, you can do it. I think that's that other key, you know.
Yeah. What about possibly surrounding yourself with people who understand?
Yeah, that always helps. Yes, find a group, find a support group. I think that there's, again, as long as they're not all stuck in the past, because that's that thing, you know. Find again, it's useful to see a mixture of people who want to move forward. I know when I joined a support group, there might have been a couple of people who came and they were, I mean, obviously they weren't thrown out, but they just didn't come back because they were happy to be stuck. Yeah. You know, there's that victim mentality sometimes, which I think is another key that to move out of. That's knowing that you can move forward, and you don't have to stay stuck.
I think, like you say, it's finding the right tribe, finding the right group of people for you. And exactly. I found that I joined several different groups online.
Yeah.
But then there was one group particularly that would pull me in, and that was the one I sat at. So you still have those other groups if you need to go back to that other space. Exactly. But you don't necessarily need to sit in it.
Exactly. And there's a lot of support out there. I mean, it was 16 years now since we finished IVF, and there's a lot more support out there now of all sorts of people of all sorts of different different people providing different lots of support. So yeah, search for that. That's really key too.
Yeah. So if we're reflecting then on moving forwards, and I mentioned a little bit about reflecting back. You and yourself, even nowadays, see, like, from one year to the next, that you've moved forward in a different way?
Well, I think for me, this time last year, I did write a blog for World Childless Week, but I was really busy in my writing, and it was like one of those things that I just did because I wanted to be involved. But a lot of my grief work has come as I've written the book in the last sort of 18 months. And now I think I feel a lot more comfortable in my own skin, actually, very, very, and I'm, you know, the blue nails, the bracelets, and I'm not wearing them now, but leopard skin boots is,
yes.
I'm going to wave my leg in the air, but that's that sort of key to me being, being comfortable. I mean, I also we were talking earlier about being hit by grief, and I, this time last year, we went, I mean, I'm from Yorkshire, and we went back there, and I was hit by a big wave of grief. It's like, this is, you know, but now I've moved on quite a lot more than that, and, you know, we've been back since, and it hasn't hit me in the same way. That's that, you know. So I feel very, very peaceful. I mean, the three words I picked for my I am me were courage, because I think, you know, courage is a word that I live by, and it's like people tell me I'm courageous, but I don't know, a lot of things I just like do the next step, try out new things, and that's that key. I'm open to lots of things. Peace was the second word. So I definitely feel really peaceful, actually. That's that, and that's deep inside, and I don't like to say it can't be rocked, but it does feel like it's part of me now. And the biggest thing is that I've found my joy, actually. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but it's that, yes, that you know, I'm looking for joy in everything that I do. It's, you know, I feel very comfortable, very relaxed, and I just must say that I journal, I write a lot. I mean, I'm a writer, but I journal and find that really helpful in looking back at this time last year. That's where I was. So that, you know, that's one of the tricks, one of the techniques I suggest for people is to write, and then it is that you can look back and see how you were a year ago. Oh yeah, I've got more work to do on that. Oh yeah, that doesn't bother me now. So yeah.
I think it's so cathartic to actually write down and express yourself, and you don't need to worry about anybody else reading your words.
Exactly.
So if you want to swear, you can swear.
Exactly.
You don't have to care about punctuation. You don't have to care about anything. You can just literally rant and release it all there. And if you want to keep it to reflect back on, you can. Exactly. If you don't, as you say, burn it, destroy it, get rid of it. But if you need to write the same letter a day later, a week later, a month later, write it again.
Exactly.
Get it out of you, and express it.
And I think that when they're getting out, and I know I really like Elizabeth Gilbert, and she says that after a couple of pages, your writing changes a bit, so that getting out starts to become a softer voice, more caring, compassionate voice, and it's like that unconscious or whatever, reflecting back and providing some healing. So I think you keep going with the writing, you get answers often, but it's like having a free therapist online, isn't it?
Yeah. Go on then. So we touched briefly again. You're going to say, where do you find your joy?
Well, I think that for me, I found ordinary moments actually is one of the keys. I mean, I do write quite. I have obviously the book's called Finding Joy, so there's a chapter on joy, and I think for me, joy is different from happiness. Happiness is found in events and things, whereas joy is a way of being in the world. It's like looking, you're looking for it in every moment, and for me it's a lot of it's often linked to gratitude as well. So there's so much, there's so many little things to be grateful for, and for me it's sewing. I enjoy sewing, I enjoy writing, being yoga. Anyone who follows me will see me lots of yoga pictures, being out in the countryside, travel, being with friends and family. Laughter is a great thing, singing, I'm in a choir. Again, it's not necessarily big things, it's just small things, enjoying time with friends, and is always. And I think one thing that is really good for bringing joy is making other people happy, and again, it doesn't have to, lots of things don't have to be expensive, buying a bunch of flowers for a friend, or just making them smile, making them laugh. I mean, that can if you've got a bit of joy in you, pass it on. And
I think that's really nice.
Let me ask you the same question then.
Oh, crikey.
Oh, sorry. I've put you on the hook now.
Yeah, you have. But in a little sort of similar way, you sort of making people happy. I tend to be, if I see something I like somebody's wearing a pair of leggings I like, or glasses, or a haircut, I'll actually say, complete stranger, be walking through like Tesco shopping, and I'll see my sister, and I'll say, oh, I love your hair, or something like that. And I'll say it because it's true, and it's what I thought. Yeah. I think, well, if it's nice, express it.
Exactly.
And quite often you go, oh, thank you, nobody said that, or something. And then you're giving them that little buzz of a perk of a smile for that minute. So, and it reflects back on you. You feel good for doing it.
Exactly.
And it, like you say, it's not the big things. It's not about money.
Exactly.
It's not about the giant big things. It's about the small little moments that you can just make precious for yourself and keep them in a little memory in your heart, or write them down even.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people do that. They'll write down moments of happiness and moments of joy, stick them in a jar, and then if they're feeling a bit low, they can go in that jar, pull them all out, and you just instantly have that moment back in your head again.
Exactly.
And it can lift your mood. So
yeah, and I have. I mean, you could do the same thing actually. I do a gratitude practice at the end of it before I go to sleep. I have a stone that I hold in my hand and think about what things I've been grateful for. But you could also do the same with joy. What things brought you joy, and then again, you're ending the day in that. So I think it's rediscovering things that you used to do as a child, I think, is really good, which is where my sewing came from. I used to love sewing, and I'm not necessarily great at it, but I enjoy it. That's the thing. And it was something I used to do with my mum,
It really doesn't matter, does it? Yeah,
it doesn't.
Anything like this creative in a way of expressing yourself, you don't have to be good at it. You just have to enjoy it.
Exactly.
And like I say, find your joy in that moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, it's been really lovely just chatting to you.
And you. I think we could sit here all day, couldn't we?
Probably could, yeah. No, because I must say that if anybody hasn't read your book or been the lucky winner, there we go again, I would honestly say go out and buy it. I found after a few pages there was a bit, and I thought, oh, that's really good. I'll have to remember that little quote because that'd be really good to put in a review. And I read a couple more pages and I thought, oh, I really like that little bit as well. And I carried on reading, and after I read so much I thought I need to go back through this and actually highlight, because there's a lot of what you say in there I completely agree with, and I've thought it myself, and there's a lot of you put in there I agree with that, but you put it in a different line, you know what I mean, you sort of come at it from a different angle. So even though I had already thought of it, I was thinking of it in a slightly different way, and I thought that makes it interesting. It's a book that I can definitely go back to and reflect on. So yeah, I think it's a great book. It really is. Thank you for letting me read it for you.
That's all right. You're welcome.
It's been really nice.
Thank you.
So, do you want to say one last little bit to us of what is your joy for today?
Now, so you've put me on the spot.
Yeah. What have you been your joy for today?
Well, I think speaking to you, actually, I'm going to say that's my joy for today, because we've had, it's like it's that connection, isn't it? And I know we've met once face to face, and so that's been my joy for today. Yeah,
that's brilliant. Thank you very much for the compliment. I love it. Okay, thank you everybody for watching, and thank you, Lesley, for talking to me today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.